I'm going to share one of my favorite strawberry recipes with you today. This is the time of the year, the time for strawberries in southern Appalachia and throughout the South. They are just coming in and they are so good. I have a favorite strawberry pie recipe that you can check out if you've not seen that, and I will link to it. But the recipe that I'm going to share with you today, it's an old recipe, a really common one. It's really a trifle is what it is. And you probably partook of it on one of your, if you've ever been to a potluck, maybe at church, at Decoration Day or homecoming, or maybe at your family reunion. It's really commonly seen at those places. And that's probably one of the first places that I ate it, was probably at a church function. And the punch bowl cake is the name of the recipe. And it can be made with other fruits, but I really love it with strawberries. Well, when I first ate it and then I wanted to make it myself, it takes an angel food cake to make the recipe. And you can buy those, like if your grocery store has a bakery, like Ingles here where we live, they have a bakery. So they make them and you can buy them that way. And I did that a couple of times. You can also buy cake mixes that are for angel food cakes. And I think I might have tried that once or twice. But I really wanted to make my own angel food cake to go in this recipe. And I like angel food cake anyway. It's kind of that weird texture. Some people don't like it, but I really, really enjoy it. But most angel food cake recipes that you look take a whole lot of eggs. And in these days, money was tight, and I was always looking for recipes that were more affordable. And at that time, we were buying eggs. We didn't have chickens, and it was just not, I could just never justify using that many eggs when I knew my family needed to eat them, you know, for breakfast or something like that, instead of using them for just a dessert that we didn't necessarily need. But a couple of years ago, several years ago, I come across a recipe in this cookbook. I don't remember exactly where I got it, but it's Let Us Keep the Feast, and it's the second version, or second issue of it, St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Asheville, North Carolina. And in there, when I was flipping through, just looking at all the recipes, I seen Sure Cheap Sponge Cake. And I thought, okay, well, they say it's for sure that it'll work, and then also that it's cheap. And it is, because it only takes 4 eggs. So I thought, well, I've got to try it. And I did try it, and it worked out well. And it was good just to eat if you wanted to do that, but it also worked excellent for this recipe that I'm going to share with you today. Now, if you're going to find your own sponge cake at a local bakery, or make one from a mix, or maybe you have a recipe that you really enjoy, you can forward through to the video where it starts talking about how to put together the punch bowl cake. But for those of you who might be interested in learning how to make the Sure Cheap Sponge Cake, I'm going to show you how to do that right quick. So 4 egg yolks, this is what it takes, 4 egg whites, stiffly beaten, 1/4 cup water, 1 1/3 cups sugar, 1 1/2 cups plain flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of lemon extract, and 1 teaspoon cream of tartar. That's what you need. So now I'm going to show you how to put it all together. So the first step we're going to do is we're just going to put our egg yolks in a bowl to mix them. If you just have a hand mixer, you can do it that way too. And we're going to beat those until they're kind of frothy. So I let the egg yolks beat for about 4 to 5 minutes till they're kind of full, and they don't really look frothy as much as full to me. But now I'm going to add my 1/4 cup water. And now this time when we mix them, we're going to let them mix for, it says 5 to 10 minutes. And I usually go for the full 10 minutes just to make sure. And the recipe even notes, it says you cannot overbeat. So that's why it says 5 to 10. So I'm like, well, if you can't overbeat, I'm going to make sure that they're where they're supposed to be. So I'm going to go for the full 10 minutes. Now that the 10 minutes is up, you can see how light and kind of airy the egg yolks are with that water. And so now we're going to start adding our sugar just a little at a time. So now I'm going to take the flour and I'm just going to stir the salt into it. And then we're going to add that. Now that that's barely mixed in, you just kind of want to fold it in. I'm just being lazy and letting the mixer do it. We're going to fold in our egg whites that we beat. Now I'm going to add those egg whites. Just gently fold them in. Now that we've almost got them folded in, I'm going to add one teaspoon of lemon extract. Fold that in. And when it comes to what to bake it in, the recipe says to use a tube pan, and that's what I'm going to use today. In years past, I didn't have one. Miss Cindy actually gave me hers. And so I used like a bundt pan, or not really a bundt pan, but a smooth side pan. Now we're ready to put it in the pan. And I did not grease the pan. You don't need to grease it. Now we're going to bake it at 325 for an hour. Okay, the sponge cake I made is done. This is one of those recipes that you could really kind of twist it or make it to your liking instead of just doing it exactly like the recipe. So if you want to buy, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to buy an angel food cake, if you want to try to make the recipe that I made, or you could use pound cake too. You could use whatever your favorite kind of cake like that. Think of what you would like to eat with your strawberries anyway, and that you could use that and it would be just fine. But so I've got my cake, and then for the mixture that we're going to kind of layer, I've got my bowl here. It's a cake plate. I've had this since I got married, but you turn it upside down. I mean, you can this is the cake plate, then you can turn it upside down and turn this part upside down and it becomes a bowl. So that's what I'm going to put mine in, but you can use, it doesn't matter if it's see-through or not, it's still going to taste good. So now I'm going to mix my other ingredients up that I'm going to use in the layers along with the cake. So I've got 2 cups of powdered sugar. I'll put that in my bowl. I've got 1 16-ounce container of sour cream. I've got 1 container of Cool Whip. You could probably try making your own whipped cream too if you don't want to use Cool Whip. And then I've got 1 small can of evaporated milk that I'm going to put in there, and we're going to mix it all together. Okay, now I've got that mixed up. Also, while the cake was baking, I went ahead and I sliced up some strawberries. Again, it's kind of, I think the original recipe said a quart, so that's probably about a quart. And then you can sprinkle some sugar over them just to taste. Whether it takes, it depends on kind of on how sweet your berries are, but also whether you really want that just the strawberry taste on its own, or if you want to add sugar. So you can, I think the original recipe said to cut the cake into cubes. You can do that, or you can do slices. You can do whatever, just whatever you prefer. It's all going to taste the same anyway, and I don't worry about how things look, although I probably should. I worry about how they taste more, but you can certainly look at how they look and and do a better job than me. So I'm just going to use kind of bite-sized cubes there. And then once we've got a layer, you're just gonna layer all the way up with some strawberries and then some of the whipped topping that we made. I'm gonna have to get me a spoon. Okay, I got me a spoon, but I'm gonna move my book because you know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna splatter it. I think I'll start with the strawberries. So I'm gonna put a few strawberries on there. My first layer of wonderful cream. I'm not sure if you can hear it or not, but we had to get a new refrigerator. Ours finally died. It was 20-something years old, and this new one is very nice, very nice. But Katie said it talks all the time, and she's right. You can hear it. So if you hear a weird noise, that's what you're hearing, is the refrigerator talking to us. So now I'm gonna continue on with my layering. Whenever I make this cake, or really whenever I think about it, I think of two people. I think of Frankie Chastain because she made it a lot. And then I think of my Uncle Henry because I think it was one of his favorite cakes. If I'm wrong about that, but I don't think so. I think it was. I think it's one of his favorites. Most recipes make me think of someone. Usually who I learned to make it, or learned to make it from, or where I first ate it. And it may have been Frankie's that I first ate at one of the church functions when I was a girl. I'm going to put another layer of this on top. Ooh, I'm making a mess too, which is usually what happens when I make something. Okay. Now we're ready for our last layer of cake. I think I'm going to get all the crumbs that I had and just kind of sprinkle them in there. I don't want to waste any of it. Now I'm going to put the rest of the strawberries. All that juice. Now, I'll top it. Now for the very topping, I've seen people put different things on the top. Some people end it with the strawberries. If you use the strawberries and I've done that a lot because, again, I don't worry as much about what it looks like. But if you use the strawberries that are that you cut up and put sugar on. Of course, they're going to be runny. I mean, you know, that juice, and then they will turn the white kind of pink, and that's okay. It doesn't taste any different whatsoever. Or you can kind of cover it, and once this is finished, you need to put it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours to let it all marry together, let all that kind of soak together with the cake. And so then when you get it out to serve it, it's especially pretty if you had some whole strawberries and you kind of put them on the top of it. But either way will work fine. So now let's see if we can coat the top of it. And if you wanted to double your the creamy part here, or if you wanted to be more judicial as you layer it, you could certainly leave enough to totally cover the top. You could also just take another thing of Cool Whip if you wanted to completely cover it. I got some on the bowl. So now that we've got it all layered, we're going to put it in the refrigerator and let it marry together for a couple of hours, and then we'll get to taste it. So as you can see, it turned out really well. It's going to be so yummy. But this, how could it not be with the cake and all that creaminess and the strawberries? So me and Corey, we decided we probably should let it sit some more. It's probably even better if you let it sit overnight. It's been in the fridge for about maybe 2.5 hours. But we were outside working, getting Corey some plants out of my yard to take to her house. And we decided we should really just come in and try it. So we're gonna see how it tastes. It's ridiculously good, isn't it?
I was going to say it shouldn't taste that good. That's real good. Even at 2 hours, all the kind of cream, the kind of topping really makes the cake like super moist.
And that will just continue for the next day, as long as it lasts at your house.
I like that it's got sour cream in it and that the cake's not super sweet because
kind of cuts the sweetness of the strawberries and the sugar.
Right.
Yeah.
Going to ruin my supper.
Yeah, we're both going to ruin our supper. You could make this with any peaches, whatever other kind of fruit you want, but I just think it's especially good with strawberries, especially this time of the year when they're fresh. These probably come from, I think they come from South Carolina. They come from our local produce stand, but from farther south. And it just makes such a good cake, doesn't it, Corey?
You gotta take advantage of the fresh strawberries while you can. It's only
It's the only time of the year that I actually like to eat them. So we hope you enjoyed seeing how to make punch bowl cake. It's really easy. And as I said earlier, you could use whatever cake you wanted. You could buy an angel food cake. You could use pound cake. You could buy a pound cake. But mixing it, layering it in there looks really pretty. But it tastes so good, doesn't it, Corey?
Super good.
Yeah. So we hope that you'll drop back by and help us celebrate Appalachia, which is a lot of Foodways, like this recipe that I learned about when I was a girl. Probably at a church function is where I would guess the first time I had it, at Decoration Day or Homecoming. But please do drop back by for more Foodways and more Celebrating Appalachia. It's good, isn't it?
It shouldn't be this good, Mama.
It's so good. Patty, it's really good. Come get a piece.